A quick view into the dark side. I'm Tonya Hall, and joining me is Limor Kessem, Executive Security Advisor at IBM Security. Welcome, Limor.
Hi,
Welcome back, I should say. Remind our audience again, if you will, what it is that you do at IBM.
I'm a security advisor, so I advise our customers, and I'm also an emerging research person. So anytime there's emerging research at IBM, I'm probably blogging about it, talking about it, and so on.
And you have the benefit of being able to draw on threat data from IBM Security X Force. So,
Absolutely.
what does that data tell us about the ransomware threat in general?
Oh my goodness. The ransomware threat in general has been exploding. We've been looking at data, something called the IBM X Force Index, that we look at threat intelligence data. And we saw that ransomware is the top attack type across all industries. That was in 2020. It's not very surprising. Also, one of four incidents we responded to in actual attacks were a ransomware attack. Also, if we look at OT environment, so operational technology, again, ransomware tops the chart, and it's become an absolute headache for any company out there and any CISO.
Darkside is the hacker group that compromised the Colonial Pipeline. What have you been able to turn up about them?
So that's according to the FBI who got called in there and kind of named Darkside. Darkside wasn't as big a name as others in the industry, probably because they're kind of starting to do stuff on their own brand. And that started somewhere around August 2020. They kind of announced, they went and wrote a post in the dark web saying, hey, we did not like our previous malware, so we invented the perfect malware. And they started deploying this new thing, and they also started calling in their own affiliate. They gave hints to being part of other major cybercrime gangs before that do ransomware. They didn't say who it was, but I think that at this point we kind of can guess. Anyways, malware wise, they were very similar to GandCrab and Sodi no Kibi, which is the R evil. And they use similar ransom templates and things like that. There's some code similarities, and it could be related to those two gangs. When they were looking for affiliates to join them, they said they would like Russian speakers with certain skills. They stressed that they don't want English speaking personalities and noted that they plan to target organizations that can pay and stay away from those who do social work, healthcare, government, schools, nonprofits, those kinds of things. They said they would stay away from those. So kind of having a conscientious light to them, I guess.
So, the dark web is definitely a place then where hackers brag on their skills and recruit, right?
Definitely. This is the place where they had, a website you can access through Tor. This is where they communicated from. Members of their team, supposed members of their team, were communicating things there. So that's where they kind of broke into the cybercrime arena. This is where they were trying to bring in new people to work with them. And this is also where they communicated, if they wanted to expose data that they stole, they had their website they did it at, called it Darkside Leaks. This is also where they announced something very interesting. So during the whole attack on the pipeline, they were hearing that the government got involved. They got scared. They're like, "Hey, we're apolitical. We have no intention of causing any kind of problems. We just want money." And this is another place where they also decided to retreat. They said they're shutting down their operation, probably because they got way too much attention from government. Russian government got involved as well and said, "Hey, we have nothing to do with this." And so a lot of pressure and a lot of heat on them from law enforcement. They came and said, "We're shutting down the business. We're not going to continue the attacks. We lost access to the website where we published data. We also lost access to the wallets where money was sent from victims." Which, by the way, money was sent, around $17.5 million was sent over the past few months from different victims to the wallets they controlled. All of a sudden, these wallets are empty. They shut down. They disappeared. And so, yeah, the dark web and, basically those Tor sites is where they were able to communicate.
What tactics, techniques, and procedures does Darkside use to effect a breach? And how do these compare to other ransomware hacks that we've seen?
It's all too similar. To be honest, is part of my blog, I said, it's a new group, old TTPs. Their favorite is remote exploitation. They like coming in through kind of weak RDP connections. They settle on port 443, which is a common port. They kind of get swallowed in traffic. They're going to look for ways to come in from a remote, maybe, exploit VPNs, exploit those kind of things. Not so much on stolen credentials. They do that once they're in the system. And a lot like other cybercrime gangs in general, they do very targeted attacks. They want to get to know the environment. They start spreading through the environment. They want to become a domain controller at some point and be able to do what's called a golden ticket attack and start issuing themselves the ability to just get everywhere and appear like a real domain controller, which gives them all the privileges they can possibly hope for on a network. One interesting thing about them is that once they're in the network and in the environment, they don't rush to go and encrypt the entire environment. They want to find, they have objectives that they want to accomplish. They want to exfiltrate data. They want to know everything about the environment, find all the backups, find, access to clouds, whatever they can get their hands on. And so they take a lengthy stage to do that. And only at the point where they set up everything and are ready, they start the encryption process. In terms of encryption as well, they adapted encryption to their own needs. They want to go very fast when they encrypt. So they use something called a SALSA 20 cipher. That helps them encrypt very quickly as much data as possible after they've already exfiltrated some stuff so they can go to an extortion phase. And after they finish that, they take the stream from the SALSA 20 and they encrypt it with an RSA key, which is, if it's implemented correctly, which mostly it is, it's not breakable. It's not something you can reverse and break it. And so this is kind of their tactics that they do. I can't tell you it's very different. A lot of cybercrime gangs that do this, they do something called living off the land. They use a lot of stuff that's inherent to the Windows systems that they attack. And also they bring in stuff like Cobalt Strike and Mimikatz and those kinds of tools that are meant for pen testing, but attackers unfortunately often use them as well. So they do all the same stuff that we've seen in other ransomware attacks, but unfortunately it's successful and hard to detect.
So this has evolved past opening a simple email.
Quite. Yeah.
So what steps should organizations take to limit their exposure to a ransomware attack?
I say in general, backups remain a very essential part of this. We all want to make sure we have backups because no matter what happens, and in some cases, even in the pipeline case, the decryption key is not the end all. It's never silver bullet. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes part of the data is corrupted. You want to make sure you have really good backups, that they're able to come back from them, that they're redundant, that there's someplace offline that nobody can get to them from a connected system. Make it harder and make it redundant. Also, encrypted data. All these cybercrime gangs, I'd say 59% of the breaches we responded to last year started by a ransomware attack because they go from, okay, you don't want to pay for the decryption key, then we extort you. We're going to leak your data, and every hour that you don't pay us, we're going to leak more data. So encrypt your data, make it useless to them. Once they take it, it means nothing to them. It's encrypted. They can do whatever they want. So if your data is encrypted, your data is backed up, you probably are going to be doing a lot better in terms of coming back from that attack. Also, applying the zero trust approach to the framework, to the network, sorry. If you have zero trust approach, what does it mean? It means that every time a user is trying to do something, it has to be in a certain context at a certain time. There's a lot of behavioral factors around it that, access to data is not granted because I put in my user and password. Another thing about user and password, please put an extra factor of authentication on that. Whether it's an application that has an authentication, a code that pops up, or an approval thing, I wouldn't go so much for SMS messages, but it definitely would put some multi-factor thing on it, especially domain controls, all those things where they really like coming from. Those RDPs, all those remote connections, put that extra layer of security there. And throughout the entire network, lower privilege. People who don't need certain privileges, lower privileges, least privilege is a really good measure for prevention. So
Limor Kessem, Executive Security Advisor at IBM Security. If somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way they can do that?
So I'm on Twitter a lot at iCyberfighter. I'm on LinkedIn. You can also catch my blogs at securityintelligence.com or just seek IBM Security and you're going to find out more about what we do and you can find me probably as well.
Great Twitter handle. Thanks again for joining us, Limor.
Thank you, Tonya.
And find and subscribe to more of my interviews right here on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or at tonyahall.net. Thanks for watching.